My name is Claus. I am your friendly neighborhood Mrs. Claus. I am here today to teach some basics of crochet. What my channel does is we're going to go through how to crochet, how to do some of my favorite patterns. We're going to learn new patterns together. We're going to do some bedtime story readings. We're going to do some baking with Mrs. Claus. The closer we get to Christmas, the more of those cookie baking recipes we're going to be going through. I will show you how to read patterns. I'll show you how to do those patterns. And basically, we're just going to go through this journey together. I am so excited to get this channel started and to get crocheting with you guys. I hope that my videos will help you. I know a lot of people have been starting with these DIY crochet kits, and I want to help you learn how to read those and how to see those and go with, okay, this is what a single crochet looks like. This is what a double crochet looks like. This is what a triple crochet looks like. This is how we're going to do this. So I know a lot of people do these kinds of videos, but I'm hoping that I'll become your favorite. So without further ado and any more gilding the lilies, give us a like and follow, and let's start our video today. Okay, so what we're going to do first is we're going to go over the basics. Yarn, the types of yarn, how to do a center pull, to pull out, things that you're going to need. You're going to need scissors. That is a yarn needle. I might zoom in on some of this stuff for you. And then we've got crochet hooks and stitch markers. So let me zoom in on all this stuff for you. I don't know why that is not zooming correctly, but I may have my resolution too high. Great. So I know this looks like a hot mess, but these are just a few things that you're gonna need for crocheting. So you're gonna need scissors, preferably good ones. This pair is pretty decent. I got it at Walmart. You know, you're going to want some that'll cut through the yarn pretty easily depending on the type of yarn that you have. You're going to need crochet needles or hooks, however you want to say it. Then you're going to need some yarn needles for weaving in your ends and stitch markers. Then of course you need yarn. So for this, I chose this yarn here. It's more of a thicker plush yarn. It is the Yarn Bee Cozy Occasion in olive. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start by zooming in and showing you how we're going to use this. I'm going to use a bigger hook. This is a 6mm J hook. I'm going to use the thicker yarn so you can see it better. And then I'll show you the basic steps of how we're going to do this. Let's zoom in. I'm going to move these out of the way. We're going to start here. Now, I'm going to turn this around and mirror my screen if I can, because I'm right-handed, and this isn't going to show you how to do that right. Stand by. Now that you've seen the basics for the things that you're going to need to crochet with, now we're going to get into how to do these crochet. Now, I hold my yarn in my left hand, usually with it under my pinky finger, over my ring finger, under my middle finger, and over my index finger. I don't know why my camera's being so laggy today. All right, I'm dealing with some lag issues on my camera, so we're gonna see if we can make it work. All right, now that you've seen the things that you're going to need, your hooks, your needles, your yarn, let's get into some basic stitches. Now, these stitches are what you're going to need to be able to create anything. So, first things first is your slip knot. Now, you can make a slip knot multiple ways. This is how I do it. I take my yarn in my hand, wrap it around my finger, and I make a little loop. Then I hold that little loop, put my needle through, or my crochet hook, and pull that through the loop, then tighten. Then you've got a basic little slip knot here. Now, with this basic little slip knot, this is how we start the first part of our crochet. Now, in my left hand, I am going to take the yarn and put it over my index finger, under my middle finger, and over my ring finger, like this, to pull tight and keep tension. You want to keep tension or you're not going to look right when you make stitches. So I'm going to bring this closer to you. Now, we have our slip knot, we have our hook, we have our hand with our tension pulled tight. The next thing that we're going to do is called a chain stitch. Now with the chain stitch, basically you're in your slip knot here. You're going to take your yarn over is what this is called, grab it and pull through. And there you made a chain. I'm going to do about 5 chains. 3, 4, 5. And that's why it looks like a chain. That's why it's called a chain, because it's going to look, there it is, like a chain when you're done. I'm sorry about the video quality today. It's being crazy. So I'm going to go ahead and do another, we're at 5 chains. I'm going to do another 10 chains and we'll have 15, and I'll show you why here in a minute. 1, 2, ooh, sometimes that happens. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, once you have your chains, we can start doing the part that makes the crochet grow, right? Single crochets, double crochets, and triple crochets. I'm going to show you a different one on each row of these crochets, or chains here, sorry. So with a single crochet, you're not going to go back into the hole that you started, or that you have right here. You're going to go into the second one. You're going to dip in. You're going to go into that part of the, I need you to zoom and look right. Come on. Right here. See how you've got the chains lined up? Instead of going into this first chain part here, you're going to go into the second one. You push your hook through it, then you loop over, yarn over, like I said, pull that through, and you'll have 2 loops on your crochet hook. That is how you know it's a single crochet. You're going to have 2 loops, your original chain and your new loop. Then you're going to yarn over again, come back this way, Crystal, and pull through. That's going to be a single crochet. I don't like the way that you can't really see it. I need a different yarn. Now that we have all of our equipment that we're going to need, I'm going to show you some basic stitches and the easiest way to do those. So the way that I hold my yarn and the way that I hold my hook are different than a lot of people, but I'm going to show you how I do it because it's what's natural for me. I hold it like I hold my pencil, right? Like I'm writing. Some people also hold their pencils like this. I don't know who does that. That's weird to me, but that's how a lot of people hold their crochet hook. Now I do have to change my holding position every now and then for speed and for accuracy, and when I get carpal tunnel, I can change my hook position to help with that. Because when you hold it like this, you're going to be using a lot more wrist tension. When you hold it like this, you're using your fingers more. That's why I like holding it like this, but that's just me. Now, your first stitch that you need to know is how to make a slip knot. If you don't know how to make a slip knot, I'm going to make it real easy for you right here. Take the end of your yarn between these 2 fingers, wrap it around that finger, then move your fingers up to hold that loop in place. Stick your needle through and pull up a loop. Then you're going to grab your tail and this end and you're just going to pull. And you see how you've got a knot here and your loop can then change to tighten up around your hook or loosen depending on which end of it you are holding. Now, because I want my loop tight around my hook, now I'm using a 4.5mm hook. Normally with this yarn I would use a 3mm hook because it is so much thinner, but I want you to be able to see what I'm doing when I'm making these chains, and if it's bigger you'll probably see better. So the next stitch you're going to want is going to be a chain. Now the way I hold my yarn in my hand, I put the yarn like this. It's going to be under your pinky, over your ring finger, under your middle finger, and over your index finger. That helps you keep the yarn tight for tension purposes. Now you can choose to hold your other tail with that hand, or you can hold your tail with your middle finger and your thumb. That's usually what I do, and that's where I hold my project as my project gets bigger. So now that we have our yarn in our hand and it's ready to go, I'm going to pull it up here so you can see what I'm doing. I have my slip knot here. I'm going to do what's called yarning over, and that is going to be pulling your yarn over through your hook. Why are you not zooming in on it? Anyway, and you're going to pull that piece through your slip knot. You're going to do that again for a second chain, then again for a third chain. I'm going to do a chain of 15 real quick. 3, then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, so now you see why it's called a chain. It looks like a chain. Let's zoom in on that a little bit. It looks like a chain. So now you see why it's called chaining. Now, the next stitch is going to be a single crochet. Now, when you've got your chain, anytime you're doing a single crochet, you are going to skip the first little knobby on your chain right here. You're going to skip that one. You're going to go into the second one. That's called your second stitch in your chain. You're going to yarn over, pull through, and you'll see that you have 2 pieces of yarn on your hook. Then you are going to yarn over again and pull through both of those pieces. So now you have your tail again, and you have your single crochet. You're going to again go into the next stitch, pull over, and pull through. That's your second single crochet. I'm going to do this all the way to the end and show you what that's going to look like. So you're going to do this in every little bump on that side of your chain. I call it a bump. It's a stitch. It's just the top part of your stitch, your chain stitch. Now, if your crochet piece curls up like mine was just doing, that happens. It will work out in the end. That's what blocking is for. So we should have 14 single crochets by the time we get to the end, because with the chain 15, it might be 13. We shall see. I think it's 13. But we're going to single crochet the whole way across. And I'm using this cotton yarn just because it was something that I had that you'd be able to see better. I tried using a plush yarn when I first started doing this particular piece to show you, and the plush yarn was just too darn fluffy, so you couldn't really see the stitches themselves. With this cotton yarn, you can actually see the stitches. Let me see if my flash will help. Let me turn off this light. There we go. That might help with my zooming issue. Let's turn the flash on. Oh no, that makes it worse. Okay. So now that you can see that, that is going to be your single crochet. Let's see if it'll zoom in pretty good so you can see what that's going to look like. Nope. Why my camera is not focusing, I will never know. All right, so for the next type of stitch, it's going to be a half double crochet. So with a half double crochet, you're going to want to chain 2 on your end and turn your work. So when I say turn your work, it's basically just turn it to the other side of what you're working on. Now, with the half double crochet, you're going to, that is going to be considered, where you chained is going to be considered your first half double crochet stitch. So you're going to yarn over your hook, then go into your second stitch, yarn over and pull through. You'll notice you've got 3 pieces of yarn on your hook. Then you're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 of those loops. That's a half double crochet. Again, yarn over, go into the top of your stitch, yarn over, pull through 3 pieces of yarn, or 3 loops, yarn over, pull through all 3. Now, with tension, that can cause some differences in how your stitch comes out. So you want to keep good enough tension that you are able to pull your fingers or pull the yarn through, but that it doesn't come through too much. Because see, if you have no tension, you can't control the yarn. The tension is what controls what your yarn does. So we're going to do half double crochets all the way to the end of this row. And I can already tell I'm going to have to get new camera equipment because these cameras are being funky today. But we are going to wing it for now. So, half double crochets all the way to the end of our row. And now hook size is going to be something that you have to play with, because with this kind of yarn, if you use a bigger hook, it's going to create a lacier effect, but your stitches aren't going to translate as well as they do with a tighter hook, a smaller hook. With this 4.5 millimeter hook, that's pretty much a standard size for any clothing that I'm going to make. And this yarn is interesting. It's cotton and it acts funny, but I wanted to go ahead and show you. Look, I've zoomed in enough to where you can actually see what it looks like. Now, I'm going to get a different color yarn, and we're going to do the same thing in a different color yarn, so you might be able to see the pattern a little better on each of these stitches. Let's see. That one I'm using. I don't have a whole lot of this one, so it'll be good to work with. All right. So we've done the half double, or the single and the half double crochet. I'm going to zoom out a little bit more. There we go. I'm going to do another chain with my slip stitch, just like I did on that one. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, sorry, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Now, sometimes when you chain, you'll notice that it will spin, but that's because of the type of tension that you have on there. just make sure that you lay it flat and make sure that all of your stitches look even like this on your chain. So now that we've done that, I'm going to go ahead and do the single crochets and the half double on this one so you can see the difference on the solid colored yarn, because I think maybe doing it on the non-solid color was making it harder to see the stitch pattern. So I'm going to do the same thing on this that we did on the other, just real quick so you can see the difference that different yarn looks like. Now, a problem that you might find with some of your yarn is that it will shred when you put the hook through it. That is going to be an issue you have with some of the cheaper yarns and even some of the more expensive ones. This one, I don't even remember what this one's from. I got it for wings on a stuffy that I made, some amigurumi. I can't even say the right word, but I was making some Pokemon and I needed wings and it needed this kind of feathery looking white color. All right, so that right there is going to be in a solid color what your single crochet row is going to look like. It's so much like a pearl color, it's hard to see it. There we are. That's what it's going to look like on this yarn. Now, for the half double crochet row, it's going to look a little different. I'm going to go ahead and do it so you can see how that shredded a little bit on my hook and didn't go all the way through that yarn. That will happen, especially with some of this super soft, like Caron super soft yarn tends to shred like that when you're using it. But it does look so pretty and it is so soft when it's done. But it is harder to work with than some of the cotton yarns. I like the cotton yarn that I was just using so that because it is easy to work with. I am doing a blanket right now that's made with an acrylic yarn similar to the one that I'm using right here, and it is a pain. You're going to find that on some of them. Some of the yarn is just hard to work with, and that's okay. If you get frustrated, you can always just start over and do it again. That's the one thing about crochet. You can always pull it loose and start over. Okay, so now that we're in our last little loop, it looks like I got some permanent marker on this yarn at one point or another. All right, so you can see the half double crochets and how they look compared to with the cotton, the different yarn, and it's the way that it works, the way that it works up. It's just slightly different. All right, so we're going to move on to the next stitch. I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to zoom back out a little bit. I think we're going to stick with this one since it's a solid color and it's easier to just kind of see that. So with the next stitch, you're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Some people only do 2 for a double crochet, but I feel like 3 gives you the right height on that first stitch. And that's going to create your first double crochet. So now we're going to yarn over just like we would do on a half double crochet. Go through the top of your stitch, pull back through. Then you're going to yarn over, and instead of pulling through all 3 loops like you do with a half double crochet, you only pull through the first 2 loops. Then you've got 2 loops on your hook again, yarn over, pull through. That gives you your double crochet. So we're going to do the same thing, go into the top of the loop or top of the stitch, You've got 3 loops, you've got 2 loops, you've got 1 loop. We're going to do that all the way through to the end. This is going to be probably, if you're doing things like crocheting hats and clothing and stuff like that, these 3 first stitches that we do are the ones you're going to probably use the most. I know for blankets and stuff like that, there are some patterns that call for triple crochets and quadruple crochets and stuff like that. It is very rare that you're going to use anything but these stitches that we've just gone through. But I'm going to still show you a triple crochet anyway, so you can see how it looks. I use the half double crochet to make straps on my clothing with, so that's something to keep in mind. Half double crochet is a little more sturdy. Single crochet is very sturdy compared to half double crochet, but when you're doing a strap, you might want that thicker width. So now we've got the double crochet across here. Can you see how much difference that makes in this stitch? How it looks on both sides. Totally taller than the others. The double crochet is my favorite stitch. It is one of the easiest stitches, and it just works up so beautifully. So now we've turned our work. We've got that last little loop there. I'm going to go ahead and chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is going to be for our triple crochet. So we've chained 4. That gives us our first stitch. And now we are going to do 2 loops on our hook, yarn over twice basically, go into the top of your stitch, yarn over, and you're going to see you have 4 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over, pull through the first 2, you'll have 3, just like the double crochet, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. That's your triple crochet. So again, we're going to do 2, go into the top, grab on, you've got the 4 loops, pull through the first 2, then the second 2, then the final 2. Loop twice, go into the top, pull through, pull through, pull through. Now these are American terms. In the UK, they use different terms for these same stitches. I believe that would be considered a quad stitch, and the double crochet is considered a treble, and the half double crochet is considered a double in UK terms. So we are doing crochet in American terms. Sorry about that for my UK viewers, if I have any. Most of the patterns that you find nowadays are going to be done in American crochet terms. You may see UK crochet terms in some older ones if you look up historical crochet patterns. But most of your crochet patterns are going to follow this same basic terminology. So we're going to finish out this row of triple crochets. And I had a pattern recently that called for a quad crochet stitch, but I don't think you're going to need it if you're a beginner. That's going to be most definitely a advanced stitch. And if you know how to do a double and a triple crochet, then you're going to know how to do a quadruple crochet. It's basically the same thing, just one extra loop. All right, and into the top of this one. Give me that. There we go. All right, easy peasy. There's our 5 if you count the chains, our 5 basic stitches. And that's what they're going to look like on your crochet. So now what I want to do is go into pattern reading. With pattern reading, because that's what you're going to want for all of your stuffies, all of your clothes, all of that stuff. So we're going to go ahead and do what's called frogging. This is another thing that crocheters hate doing, and I don't blame them, because if you have to frog an entire project to get to one stitch that you missed, it's a pain in the butt. But frogging is basically pulling on your long string and just pulling it out and undoing everything that you just did. Now you don't have to frog all the way. You can frog to a certain point and then start over at that point or not. But there we go. We're back to a single piece of yarn. Now, I printed off some patterns that I found on Pinterest that are the print patterns. These were the bane of my existence when I started crocheting. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. I had no idea how to read these graphs. They are not easy to read, but I have figured it out since, and I'm going to show you what it looks like. So we're going to pick one of these that's got several different stitches in it. Let's see. Look at this one, a basic granny square triangle. Now I am working on a blanket right now that I'm thinking about using these in. So I'm going to grab the purple yarn that I am using in that blanket, and we're going to try this stitch. All right, I'm going to zoom in on it so you can see what we're looking at. So this is going to be our little pattern that we're going to use. Now, in this one, they use a magic circle. I'm not going to use a magic circle because they have the tendency to come loose, and I want to show you how to make one of these without having to do a magic circle. So, what you're going to do to mimic the magic circle is you're going to do your slip knot. Then you are going to, I like to do a chain 4. Some people just do a chain 2. I'm going to do a chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You're not going to really see it that well in this yarn because of the color. I'm sorry about that. Then we're going to slip stitch, which is exactly what it sounds like. You put your hook through both pieces you want to connect together. You are going to yarn over and pull through both both of those chains. Now you've made a little circle. So now we're going to, if you look here, you're going to chain 3. The little circles on the pattern, let me show you. See how it's got these little circles on the pattern? Zoom in a little more. I think that's as much as I can zoom in. On our pattern right here, we've got these little circles. Those are chains. These circles right here are just chains. These right here are double crochets. So the double crochet is going to look like, on the pattern, is going to look like a line, another line, and a little line like that. That's going to be a double crochet on your pattern. So on this one that we're doing, it's literally just chains and double crochets. So we're going to start right here where it's got the bubbles for those chains, because that's going to mimic your double crochets. So we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and that's going to be our middle of our cluster of 3 double crochets. So then we're going to take our yarn. After we've done that, I'm going to move this around so you can see what I'm doing better. All right, we've got our circle right here that we're going to stick our hook through for our double crochets. So we're going to yarn over, go into the hole, grab and then we're going to make our double crochet. Then on the pattern it has you chaining 4 in each corner, because this is where we're starting, right here in the middle. So it's got us chaining 4 in the corner. So we're going to do that real quick. We're going to chain 1, 2, let me pull that back so you can actually see what I'm doing. Zoom back out. There we go. We're going to do this chain 4. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we are going to do 3 double crochets into the same hole right here in the center of this. So we're going to go 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, 3 double crochets. All right, so now we have basically 2/3 of a cluster and 1 cluster. We're going to chain 4 again. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to do another 3 double crochet cluster. 1, 2, 3. Now mind you, if you notice, I hold my crochet close to my project so that when my stitches, I can control it better when I'm making my stitches. All right, we're going to do our next chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we're going to do our last double crochet to finish out that first cluster that we did. Let me zoom out a little bit more so you can see it a little better. All right, so we now have 3 clusters of 3 double crochets. Now we're going to join with a slip stitch into the top of that chain 3 that we did to begin with and close it off. So now we have something that somewhat resembles a triangle. So what we're going to do next is, according to the pattern, we've done this. We're back to here. So we're going to chain 3 again from our center post here. 1, 2. I keep pulling it close to me so you can't see it. All right, we're going to do those 3 crochet or chains. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3. Then we are going to, let's look at the pattern. We are going to go into the top of our next double crochet right here and do a double crochet again. So that's going to create our second one. And then we are going to do 3 double crochets in the open space here. Let me move that closer to you so you can see. So we're going to do 3 in this open hole that we just made. 1, 2, 3. Then we're going to do our corner like we've been doing our corners by chaining 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you're going to do 3 double crochets into that same hole that you were just working in. 1, 2, 3. Then if you look on the pattern, we are right here. So we're going to do a double crochet into the top of each of the next 3 double crochets and then 3 into the hole. So let's do that. We're going to go into the top of that double crochet there, into the top of the next double crochet, and into the top of the next double crochet. Then we're going to finish it out with 3 double crochets in the corner for this row. And I don't know why I'm doing it with this yarn, because I'm using the wrong size needle for the project that I'm currently working on. So maybe we'll do it different here in a minute. So now we're going to do our chain 4, just like the pattern tells us. And then we're going to go in and do the same thing on this side that we just did. 3 into each of the corners, 3 into the top of each of the double crochets, 3 in the next corner. One, 2, 3. Then we're going to chain 4 for our corner. All right. Now we're at the last little pass to get back to where we started. So we're going to do 3 double crochets once more in that same last corner. And then we're going to finish off with 1 more double crochet into the top of that last double crochet that we did not already fill. Then we'll slip stitch into that first one on this row, and we'll have more of a triangle. Now the project that I'm working on, I'm using a 3mm hook. So this is about 1.5 millimeters larger than what I'm using on that project. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this one out as per the pattern so that you can see what we're doing. We've got 1 more row on this pattern, and then we're going to finish it out so you can see what that looks like translated into the square. So I'm going to chain 3. We're going to put a double crochet into the top of every double crochet, and then 3 in the corner, chain 4, 3 in the corner. And we're going to do that the whole way around. This is a very easy triangular granny. It's a granny triangle, not a granny square, which is perfectly fine to call it that, granny triangle. If you go back and watch my first video, we're doing a granny square oh, I'm doing that closer to me so you can't see it. Sorry about that. We're doing a granny square dress in my first video. So that gives you an idea of how to make that, because you're going to be using these same stitches. All right. So again, into the top of every one of these, just like we did at the beginning of this row. So a lot of times with the graphs, it's going to look all kind of crazy, and it won't make any sense what you're doing until you finish the project and look at it. Sometimes it'll look like it's something that you can recognize. I can look at the pattern or the graph pattern for a willow square and know that it's a willow square and what that's going to look like translated out. The neighbors must be getting out in their bike because I just heard their garage open. It surely isn't my husband coming home because I have the car. All right, do our 4 chains for our corner, and then we're going to finish this one out. If you hear my dogs barking, it's because they are trying to get to the neighbor, because the neighbor is outside. I'm trying to do this in real time so you can see what it's like speed wise when I crochet. I'm doing it a little slower than I normally would, but that way you can see how my hands move, how my fingers move, and it kind of helps you figure out what you're doing with your hands when you're crocheting. Because if they don't look like mine, that's fine. I'll show you now how to do that double crochet with a different holding position of your hook. Some people do this like this. I don't like the way it feels in my arms, but it also creates elbow issues for me and carpal tunnel issues holding it like this. So I just wanted to show you what that kind of looks like. My nephew holds his like this, and because he's just learning how to crochet, and this is how his mom taught him to hold his crochet hook. So to me, it just slows me down, because if I hold it like this, I can rotate this back and forth, and I'm not rotating my wrist as much. I will be rotating my wrist, you'll see that, but I don't rotate as much. I have to keep looking at the monitor to see if I'm in the frame while I'm crocheting, so you guys can actually see what I'm doing. Oh, my puppies want attention and I want to give it to them. All right, we are done with this triangle. We're going to do this slip stitch right here, and we are done. I'm going to zoom out so you can see what it looks like and what the next process will be. Okay, so we have our triangle. This is what it looked like on paper here, that bad boy. And this is what it looks like as a triangle. Now, for the last part of making this triangle, we are going to pull the tail out on our yarn. Let me put that white back so you can see it a little better. We're going to pull our tail out like this, leave us some room so we can sew that in. So you're going to cut your yarn off and you're going to fasten off. Then you're going to take a yarn needle, which is basically just a regular needle but bigger to fit the yarn through. I'm going to twist that off. I'm going to put the yarn through the yarn needle, through the eye of the yarn needle, pull it through. Then I'm going to take my project, I'm going to go into the tops of my stitches, and I'm going to just basically sew that in there so that my ends don't come out and create a problem. But that finishes it off, and any excess that you have after that you can cut off and it'll be fine. But you do have to weave in some of that end so that your stuff doesn't just unravel. But there's that. Now I do have a tail here from where I started. I tried to weave it in as I went, so I don't have to weave that in now. But this is what they call the pretty side. This is what they call the ugly side. I don't know why. I don't think in this you can tell the difference. But you want your right side, which is your pretty side, to be out when you're doing a blanket or anything else. So that is how we follow that pattern. So just to give you an idea, I'm going to go in here on a blank piece of paper, and I'm going to write out those pattern things for each one. If you've got a dot, that is going to symbolize a slip stitch. All right, that's going to be your dot. If you've got a circle, let me zoom in some more so you can see this better. If you've got a circle, that is going to be a chain. Did I flip my thing again? There we go. All right, so you've got a slip stitch and a chain. Then you've got a double crochet, and it's upside down. Look at me. No wonder it looked all funky. All right, then you've got triple crochet, okay, yep, I'm writing upside down. It looks funky. And in one that I had yesterday, it had boop, 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 a quad stitch. Now that one is extremely rare. Now you will see in a lot of patterns, that it's got it's going to look like this, kind of. That's going to be that grouping of 3 double crochets. That's very common in a granny square or any kind of granny pattern. So that's how you kind of read those graphs. Now we could go into some crazy things about how other ways to read the graphs. Come down a little bit more. There's the graph of the one that we already did. This one looks crazy. Okay, if I could zoom in on it a little more, I'd show you. There are single crochet stitches on there, and it makes it look a little crazy. So that I didn't show you on the graph. A single crochet is just going to be an X on there. So you've got the X for single crochet, the dot for a slip stitch, the 0, or it may look more oblong like that. That's going to be a chain, double crochet, triple crochet, quad crochet. So that'll help you with the graph. Now, there are different things. Welcome, welcome. Here I am. There are different things. Let me zoom out a little bit more. There we go. There are going to be different things that you're going to see on patterns that you're not going to be able to understand what they are until you get more advanced. This is basic stuff. Like these are basic. That's just the basic of reading the graphs. I prefer written out patterns where it'll say something like 3 double crochets into the hole. So that's going to be like 3, like we did here, where you put the 3 double crochets into the chain space, they call it, the chain space. I prefer to have written out patterns, but graphs is what they used to do. That's what they did for a very long time, to kind of sort of show you what the pattern is going to look like when it's done. But now that we have pictures, that may not be so necessary. But if you do find yourself with one of the antiquated little graphs, then definitely make sure that you pay attention to what the graph says. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to take a 3mm hook, which is what I'm using on my other project. I'm going to show you the difference in this triangle, this granny triangle, with a smaller hook, so you can see why hook size matters when you're working on a project. I'm going to go ahead and do my same thing with the smaller hook and just show you the difference once I get it made. So if you want to stay and listen to me do that, I will 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh no, it's stuck to my mic. I will show you the difference in the size, because that's where your patterns are going to make a difference. The size of hook and the size of yarn can make a complete difference in how your project comes out. And just for the giggles of it all, I am going to go ahead and also do the same pattern with a big plush yarn and a massive hook, so you can see the difference. I will be right back. So this is why they say that doing a swatch is always going to be a good idea, because this square was made with a size 4 worsted weight yarn and a 4.5 millimeter hook. This is the same yarn with a 3 millimeter hook. See the size difference? So if your pattern calls for you to make a 4x4 square and it needs to be, say, 4 inches by 4 inches by the time you get done, you may have to use different hooks to get the right size for your tension. This is a plush yarn, a jumbo type yarn, and a 7.5 millimeter hook. So that gives you a little bit of a difference in why size is important in crochet and what it's going to look like, the difference. If you look at the difference in the sizes of the stitch here, you can kind of see the differences in how tall your stitch gets from the yarn in the same ones. So that is going to be our basics for today, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave me feedback. I do realize my cameras are kind of crap right now, but if you liked this tutorial and you would like more of them, let me know. Have a good day.